इन्वायरमेंट टुडे ऑन दिस डे। सभी लोगों को बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। और यू नो दैट this environment day is celebrated throughout the world to make people more and more aware about the environment and the point that they are existing and how to make our environment better for the human being. Follow me that if you will not take action today, so I think we have only one Earth. It will be difficult to survive our future generation. In last 78 years, the temperature of Earth has raised to about zero point 0.5 degrees centigrade, and it is now said that temperature increasing quite fast. It is about one. It will increase by 1.5 degrees centigrade by 5 years, and by end of the century, it will raise by 5 years. I think though no living being will be there. On other side, we are talking about the development, human development. So development should not be on the cost of the human being, life of the human being. And so nowadays we are talking about sustainable development. So without cost of our own health and survival, the needs of our survival of human being and other living on the earth. I'll be beginning with my presentation uh, by putting some my PPTs here. Yeah, 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 uh-huh. Yeah. First of all, what is environment? Environment is where we live, and the development is what we all do in attempting to improve our lot within that abode. The two are inseparable. Our common for our own future that we have to think about how can we development and environment will remain protected. Can we word sustain development without running in a resource constraint and despoiling the environment beyond repair? It's very important. Development is the improvement. What is development? Development is the improvement either in the general situation of a system or in same in the constitutional element. Dimension of the development are economical development, human development, and sustainable development. Nowadays, we are talking about more about economical development. The improvement of goods and services used within in a country to generate new goods and services in order to provide additional consumption and or investment possibilities to the members of the country. The human development includes improvement of the dimension of affecting the well-being of individual and the relationship with especially health, education, per capita income. Most important now that which is we should have sustainable development. Development that meets the needs of a present without the compromising the ability of future generation to meet their needs. The economical development you see is nowadays we talk about and usually we can think about GDP and about GNP. Development of the capacity of a nature that generates and sustain annual increase of gross national products, that is GNP. And now we that measure in this by these indices. Development was based on the capital accumulation, efficient market hypothesis, GNP that I'm talking about. Development was associated with industrialization, a measure solely by the economic activity and increase in the wealth. Requires larger inputs and material which generates larger quality of the and waste also simultaneously. The concept of environment now coming to the involved are developed since it started become a global issue in the early 1970s. The all everything was fine about 200 years ago when the industrial revolution started. What happened? There lot of environmental changes. So there we can remember air pollution and other pollution involved because of rapid industrialization throughout the world. Although here I will like to say, the India also that adopted the same, the industrialization. Although the Gandhi said we should focus about the Gramin Vikas, Kutir Udyog, but we did not adopt it to that. And we are now facing a problem of the environmental crisis. There is the now large number of pollution, air pollution, water pollution, and soil pollution, etc. It is because of rapid change that we think about development on the cost of the environment that we made. So the earth ecosystem are in the fragile, and that human beings have contributing much to the degradation. The social and economic welfare of human being is closely linked to the environment. The environment is a system which provides necessary nutrition, oxygen, water, and
Anita ma'am, I think we got lost the connection of Professor Ram Gulam. So, in the meantime, we'd request you to deliver your deliberation to our viewers. I would like to introduce Madam Anita Bakshi. She's a climate and development strategist, and she is a certified climate reality leader and mentor. She has also led the environmental vertical at ACT Grants, and where she drove investments and programmatic interventions to accelerate India transitions to a low carbon future. Now I would request Anita Bakshi ma'am to give her speech. Yeah, ma'am, please.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you to the Society of Empowerment, Professor Narayan, Professor Azdan, for inviting me today, and happy World Environment Day to everybody. It's a really big honor to be here with you. We're all gathered here not just as practitioners, professionals, students, or public servants, but as people who deeply care about the well being of our citizens, our economy, and our shared future. Today, I want to talk to you about something that touches all of these concerns: climate change. Climate change is not just an environmental issue, but is one of the biggest challenges and opportunities facing human development in our time. Over the past few decades, we've made tremendous progress. People are living longer, more children are going to school, access to electricity, healthcare, and basic services has improved across the board. But climate change now threatens to reverse many of these achievements. And some of these signs are already visible in India. Over 600 million people are facing high to extreme levels of water stress. More than 75% of our districts, including almost all coastal districts, are now classified as hotspots for climate related disasters. And the Reserve Bank of India estimates that by 2030, so in the next 5 years or so, up to 4.5% of India's GDP could be at risk because of reduced work productivity due to extreme heat. This is not a challenge that only belongs to our future generations. It's a challenge for today. And it affects every aspect of our work, whether it's in the healthcare space, agriculture, infrastructure, education, or even livelihoods. Climate change impacts everything. It's not just a sectoral issue anymore, it's a systemic issue. If we actually take a step back and look at what's actually happening, we'll see that the Earth's average temperature has already increased by 1.1 degrees Celsius since the pre industrial period. That might not sound like a lot, but we're already seeing very big consequences because of it. According to the World Meteorological Organization, there is now an 80% chance that we will cross the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold within the next 5 years. If that happens, we're likely to see more severe heat waves, higher sea levels, and more frequent and intense floods, droughts, and storms. Many of these we can see now as well. An example to show you how bad that 1.5-degree increase will actually be is that around 14% of the global population would face dangerous heat waves. Over 46 million people could be displaced by rising seas. And coral reefs, which are crucial for marine life and coastal economies, could decline by up to 90%. In India, we're already seeing unpredictable monsoons, desertification, reduced crop yields, and increased salinity in coastal farmlands. It's impacting everything from our food security to our water availability and our health. But this is not a hopeless story, actually, fairly far from it. We now have an opportunity to shift our systems, to build resilience, strengthen our communities, and even unlock new sources of economic growth. And the good news is, we already know that there are two key approaches that can work, and they are known as mitigation and adaptation. Mitigation is about reducing the greenhouse gas emissions that are causing climate change. This means moving towards cleaner energy, using our resources more efficiently, making greener choices in transport, industry, and agriculture. And we've already made a lot of progress here. An example of this would be that India has added a record 30 gigawatt of clean energy in the last financial year itself. And we have over 170 gigawatt of new energy clean projects underway. Our goal is to generate about 50% of our electricity from non-fossil fuel sources by 2030. It's an ambitious goal, but it is possible. Adaptation, on the other hand, is about preparing for the impacts of climate change that are already happening. This includes building stronger infrastructure, creating early warning systems, using more climate resilient crops, and ensuring our communities, especially the poorest, are protected from floods, droughts, and other shocks caused by climate change. India is currently developing its first national action plan, which will provide a roadmap for states and local governments to become more resilient. States have already started creating their plans as well. But what both mitigation and adaptation need is something a bit deeper, something that's a bit harder to achieve than, say, building solar parks or flood walls. It requires a shift from how we govern, because often the biggest barriers are not technical. They're institutional, behavioral, and policy related. I would like to take the example of agriculture, for instance. Many of our subsidies unintentionally encourage the cultivation of water hungry crops like paddy in areas already experiencing water scarcity. Or look at our cities, for example. We're building buildings and we're building codes often don't account for extreme heat or heavy rainfall. What we really need is coordination between departments, which is often limited, even though climate issues cut across all of them. We need to build stronger systems, have better data, more integrated planning and policies that account for longer term climate risks. We also need to understand something that's often overlooked is that climate change is just not a technical problem, it's a behavioral one. People's everyday choices, what they buy, how they travel, how they use electricity, plays a very big role. Industries also delay adopting clean technologies, not always because of cost, but because of habits, uncertainty, and lack of information. That's where behavioral science can really help us. Studies show that small nudges, like giving people real time information about their electricity use or making public transportation more convenient, can lead to bigger changes in behavior. Programs like Mission Life or the Niti Aayog's Behavioral Insights Unit are already working on this. But we need to take these insights into every department and make sure that every program is utilizing them. So, what does this mean for us, whether we are in the government, in the civil society, development agencies, public institutions? I would like to list out a few actions that we can take right now. First, it's important for us to localize climate change. Encourage every district, every city, and every department to assess their local climate risks and create a simple action plan. This could mean mapping vulnerable areas, working with local communities, and aligning state budgets with climate priorities. Second, We should green up procurement. So that could mean prioritizing low emission construction material, electric vehicles, or sustainable cooling technologies. If we do that, we can shift entire markets. Third, we need to invest in climate resilient infrastructure. This includes heat resilient buildings, flood resilient roads, and climate smart agriculture. These investments not only reduce disaster risks, but also create jobs and improve quality of life. Fourth, we need to build stronger cross sector coordination. Climate change, as I mentioned earlier, cannot be siloed in the environment department. So every sector, every department of our government, whether it's transport, power, housing, finance, needs to embed climate thinking into its day to day work. So, building interdepartmental task forces or climate cells in each state and each ministry is very important. And fifth, we should design for behavior, which means whether it's encouraging households to adopt rooftop solar, industries to shift to cleaner processes, or citizens to reduce food waste, we need to make sure that we embed behavioral nudges, incentives, and feedback mechanisms into your programs. But remember, climate change doesn't mean slowing down development. It's about doing development differently. In fact, when done right, it leads to better air quality, more resilient communities, healthier lives, and long term economic savings. So, I'd just like to leave us with a small thought. It's that the climate crisis is a big test, not just of our technologies or our policies, but of our ability to think long term, act collectively, and lead with courage. It is a test of governance, and it's also an extraordinary opportunity. India has already shown that bold ideas can come from here. From launching the world's largest solar mission to pushing for lifestyle based climate change action through Mission Life, we are showing the world what leadership can look like. But now we need to match our ambition with implementation. As the audience here, as professionals, as public leaders, we all hold immense influence. The budgets you shape, the infrastructure you approve, the policy you write, there are places where real climate action happens. So I'd like to leave us with a final thought. Let us lead with urgency, but also with clarity, compassion, and optimism. We are not too late. The solutions are in front of us, but what we need now is action that is bold, coordinated, and inclusive. Thank you.
Professor Narayan, uh, can you hear us? I think we are still not able to connect with Professor Narayan. So uh, we are really thankful to Anita ma'am on her deliberation that environment consists of all living beings as well as their surroundings, and a healthy environment is one that is sustainable for a long period of time. It is a source of life for everyone. It directs the life for everyone and determinations the proper growth and development. Environment is impact of our activities on environment is at a global level, eh, and all of us in a synergetic way should work for elevation of pollutions or for leading a sustainable environment for a future generation. This is what we can sum up from the deliberations from Anita ma'am, and we are really thankful to you for making your time and joining for this webinar. And there were some technical glitches from our side. For that we are apologetic, and we are looking forward to hear more from you in future. Thanks, ma'am.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank
Thank
you.
you, thank you, ma'am.